American River College for allowing us to do this, and everyone who came. My name is Brandon. I will be the moderator for this event. Today we're having a evolution versus creation debate here, if you hadn't noticed. We'd like to ask all of you to stay behind these lines and try not to block the cameras and everything. At the end, there will be a question and answer time, so if you have questions and answers, what we'd like you to do is write them on a piece of paper to who they are and what your question is. Then give them to Victor, the gentleman in the back here. He will be taking those questions, and then he will pass them up, and I will read them out loud for our presentees here. I'd like to first introduce Mr. Frank Araujo, who is a PhD. He has kindly stepped in. Apologies for butchering his name. He kindly stepped in for a gentleman that could not make it here. So give him a round of applause. He will be on the evolution side, talking about it. And then we have our gentleman here, Mr. Eric Hovind. He has come here. He will be talking about creation today. So, without further ado, we are going to get started.
All right. Well, good afternoon. Thank you guys for coming out here to the quad and hanging out. My name is Eric Hovind, has been for about 30 years. Frank and I are going to take about 5 minutes each to discuss our points of view and then kind of go back and forth with 5-minute terms. So we're going to see how much information we can get through here in about 5 minutes. I also want to thank River University, the college here, for letting us put on this debate. It is absolutely a pleasure. I talked with Charles, who we were supposed to debate on the phone just a little bit ago, and he backed out because he wanted to see evidence of our $250,000 reward. We offer $250,000 to anybody that can give empirical scientific evidence of evolution. You submit that in writing, and that goes to our ministry. You feel free to do that. You can check that offer out on our website, drdino.com. As we start this debate, I thought it'd be best to identify some terms, exactly what we're talking about. Science, if you look up science in a dictionary, science is knowledge that is derived through observation and study. Science is the pursuit of knowledge. What is reality? In particular, things that we can know because we can see it, we can test it, and we can demonstrate it. So I want to just make sure we clarify the terms that we're going to be talking about here. Now, I got to tell you that evolution, in the broad sense of the term, is not part of science. It doesn't fit what science is as far as knowledge that is derived through observation and study. Let's clarify a few more terms here. The operation of the world may be understood by scientific discoveries in the world. There's no question we can learn a lot of great science and learn how the world operates. However, the origin of the world will never be understood by science through observation and study. You can never understand the origins of the world, kind of like a computer. The operation of a computer can be understood by science, but the origin of a computer cannot be understood without appealing to a designer outside of the computer. I can't look at my computer here. From inside, I can understand how it works. I can understand the zeros and ones and the programs, and we can learn a lot of incredible stuff about this computer. But from within the computer, we will never learn how the computer originated, where it actually came from. We have to appeal to something outside of the computer. It's the same way with our world. You can understand a lot about this world, how it works, how people work, how people think. Anthropology, psychology, biology. You can learn all the sciences, but you can never get to the origins, because origins is always going to come down to a religious world view. What you believe happened, what you believe took place. Let me define some more terms. Religion. Religion is a set of beliefs concerning the cause, nature, and purpose of the universe. Evolution is a religious worldview because it attempts to answer the basic questions of life. It attempts to answer where man originally came from. Evolution is a worldview. a religious worldview. Here's the two worldviews on a timeline, just so you know exactly what we're talking about here. According to the creation worldview, I believe about 6,000 years ago is when God created the heavens and the earth. I know there's a lot of questions over that. Hang on. Well, what about dinosaurs? What about carbon dating? What about starlight? There's all kinds of questions that need to be answered. But actually, the creationist worldview has great answers to these questions. Then 4,400 years ago, there was a flood that destroyed the world. I just flew from Pensacola, Florida, over here to Sacramento yesterday. Let me tell you something. You look out the window of an airplane flying across, there is unbelievable evidence of a worldwide flood. This world really did get judged by a flood. Then 2,000 years ago, Jesus Christ was here, according to the creationist worldview, and now here we are today, in the year 2009, waiting for God to return and take away His bride to heaven, which is going to happen soon, I hope. We compare that to the evolutionary worldview. Evolution teaches that 20 billion years ago, now I know some people say it's only 14, or no, Eric, it's 16. No, it's 18. Okay, I'm going to give you all 20. Let's give you, that's what kind of the longest estimate is. 20 billion years ago, there was a Big Bang. Now, if you get right down to it, scientists have no clue what exploded. Matter of fact, right now, the current scientific theory is nothing exploded and created everything. Come on now, that is not something that we can see, test, or demonstrate. That is outside the realm of science. That is a religious worldview. Then nothing happened for a long time. 4.6 billion years ago, that's when the earth cooled down. It formed a hard, rocky crust. And then it rained on the rocks for millions of years, according to the textbooks. It rained on the rocks for millions of years, made oceans. Oceans mixed with the rock and made some soup. That was pretty incredible, according to evolution. That was an amazing event. Then, even more amazing, lightning struck the soup, and the soup came alive, according to the evolution worldview. Amazing! No evidence. They believe this, but they won't admit that. It's just a belief system. It's a worldview. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here you and I are after 3 billion years of evolution. I mean, that original thing that when the soup came alive, it found somebody to marry, something to eat, and now here you and I are after all these billions of years of evolution. Those are the two basic worldviews, and I submit to you that evolution is just as much a religious worldview as creation is. They're both religions, and we've got to understand that right up front.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hovind. I must say you're keeping on in the family tradition of fast talk, fast movement, and lot of very fast movement with facts. First of all, let's talk about your notion of what constitutes science. Science is basically a point of view. Science is basically a point of view that says we experience something, we evaluate our experiences in a way that you and I can share it. We then make an observation, we test that observation, and we make that observation presentable so that other people with similar interests and similar ways can test that same kind of an observation through a process of what we call replication. Replication in the scientific community is done through peer review. In other words, people are up here talking about things that they know something about. Okay, that wasn't the way that science was presented. All right, the other point that Mr. Hovind made, of course, was the fact that evolution is a, and I will quote you, if I'm quoting you, please correct me, a religion. It's nonsense. Evolution doesn't exist. Evolution doesn't exist. I'm sorry, it's not a metaphysical force. There is no thing called evolution. Evolution is a model retrospectively to explain a process that we observe going on in our daily lives that, guess what, is still going on. And evolution is basically looking back, creating, and explaining what happened before.